You're listening to the CareersBU podcast, a podcast aimed at Bournemouth University students and graduates. Each episode, we talk to employers, alumni and professionals all about their career journey, what employers are looking for, and help you explore the opportunities that are available to you. Hello and welcome to the CareersBU podcast. I'm your host Amanda Fripp, Careers Advisor at BU. In today's episode, I chat to BU alumni Tom Yates. Tom graduated in 2022 from Bournemouth University and went on to secure a job on the civil service fast stream. In this episode, we chat about the experience he's gained so far on the scheme, what he felt set him apart during the selection process, and tells me some fantastic tips for applying. Hi Tom, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
So can you just introduce yourself and your background, please?
Yeah, so I'm Tom. I studied at BU from 2018 till 2022, and I graduated last year. I studied international business. I'm currently working for the civil service on the fast stream, which is their graduate program. I've just started my second year, and I'm in my second posting now.
Before you came to Bournemouth University, what did you study?
So yeah, at college I did 4 A-levels. I did law, chemistry, psychology, and IT. Didn't go great. I ended up failing 3 out of 4. I only passed IT because I've never been good at exams. I don't know why I chose such difficult ones, to be honest. But I ended up switching after that to BTECs. So I ended up switching to BTEC Business and Finance. And on that, I ended up getting a distinction star in every unit I did on that. Because I think BTECs just suited me a lot better. Like, it was just assignments. So I remember, it's a while ago now, but I remember just going to library with like coffee and just cranking out assignment after assignment, listening to music and podcasts, which to me seems way better than sitting a 3-hour exam in a sports. So yeah, I did that, and then I didn't immediately go to uni after that because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I had a job anyway. I was working at a leisure centre for a while, ended up becoming the manager there. I worked there for 3 and a bit years before I went to uni. So yeah, didn't have the sort of typical sixth form uni path at 18 that a lot of people have, but I think a lot from it, and I wasn't ready to go at 18 anyway. So,
and that's really interesting because I think sometimes some people feel that you need like really exceptional A-level grades to get into the certain graduate schemes, or that they won't accept BTECs, and actually that's just a reflection that they do accept BTECs.
Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so for those who maybe haven't heard about the civil service fast stream, you said it's a graduate program or graduate scheme. So can you just tell me a little bit more about what the civil service fast stream is, kind of what it involves?
Yeah, so it's kind of like an accelerated leadership development program is what they call it. And it's 3 to 4 years in length, depending on what scheme you go onto. There's about 15 different schemes, from like, there's a commercial scheme, there's a finance scheme, there's a policy scheme, there's many different ones. And I'm on the project delivery scheme. So during that time, you do a posting in a government department, either 1 year or 6 months, which I'm sure we'll come on to. And then every year you sort of rotate to a new department, and then you start a new role. So you'll have a complete new team, completely new role. And the idea is to get as much experience as possible for you then at the end of the scheme to basically be promoted into like a senior management role. And sort of the idea of the scheme is that it's impossible to get that much experience in such a short space of time unless you're on the scheme, because you can't move around departments that quickly if you weren't on the graduate scheme.
Okay, so you rotate around different departments. You get a really great understanding, I guess, of different departments, different roles, stuff like that. So can we talk through a little bit more detail about the departments you worked in? So when you first started the civil service fast stream, what department were you in? What were you doing?
For sure, yeah. I've just done my first posting, which was a year in the MOD, Ministry of Defence. I was based at Army Headquarters in Andover, which is not that far away from Bournemouth. And I was sort of in a project support role, which I'd never done before. I have literally no experience in project management whatsoever. I didn't even do the project management pathway at BU, which is kind of regretted that in hindsight. But I like the international pathway as well. But yeah, I was in the MOD. I was working on a program called the Armed Forces Recruitment Program. It was one of the government's biggest projects at the moment. There's like a list of major projects called the GMPP, the Government Major Project Portfolio, and this was a £2 billion project to sort of in-house recruitment for the armed forces, the 3 services, the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, under one digital solution. That's like a very short explanation. It's a lot more complicated than that, really. But that's what I did for my first year. And then I've just started my second year posting, which is a 6-month complementary posting. So complementary means I'm doing something that's not project delivery for 6 months. They sort of send you outside project delivery to get a bit more experience. Now I'm in a policy role for 6 months at the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Local Communities, which is a bit of a mouthful. We call it DLUC for short. And there I'm working on the Renters Reform Bill, which has been in the news recently. And a part of that specifically that I'm working on is the implementation of a new ombudsman, which is like a body you can go to if you have a dispute with your landlord or letting agent or whatever. There's currently one for the social housing sector, but there's not one for the private rented sector. That's what I'm working on at the moment, which is really interesting because I rent, so it relates directly to me as well.
Yeah, you can see the impact that might have.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was a little bit confused about surely that's a conflict of interest, but in the civil service you're expected to be impartial and obviously unbiased at all times. So even if you're working on something that directly affects you.
And I've seen that actually you mentioned about the impartiality in when you apply to the civil service or when you look on their website, it isn't about being part of a party, it is working for the government and, like you said, being impartial, isn't it?
Yeah, so the phrase is that we serve the government of the day. So it doesn't matter what party gets in at the next election, like we serve them and their priorities. So yeah, we're not political advisors, like politicians do have political advisors called SPADs. We work with them, but we're not political at all. We're there to give like the most impartial advice and our best recommendation. Having said that though, what's quite interesting is we can push back when we either think something is not right, either because it's not value for money, like taxpayers' money is obviously very important, and we try and strive to have value for money in everything we do, or we don't think it will work for a logistical reason, like resource or staffing, or it might not even be legal. So there's like different considerations there. So, but at the end of the day, ministers can just ignore your advice if they want to, because that's their prerogative. So they're the elected officials. We're obviously not elected by anyone. So.
Okay. So you said, how long did you say this placement's going to be for?
So this is only 6 months, so from October to April next year.
Okay. And where did you say it's based?
The Department for Levelling Up. So I'm currently based in London, in Westminster, which is quite cool. It's quite a nice commute.
And in just terms of when you're going around these different places, where do you live when are you staying at home? Are you commuting from there? Kind of what happens in terms of accommodation?
Yeah, so on the fast stream, like you are expected to be mobile, and it is expected that you'd move at least once during the scheme. So for my first year posting, I moved to Andover, which is like a small town in Hampshire where Army HQ was. And I'm like renting there at the moment. But what's good is that the fast stream gives you financial assistance, so you can claim up to £2,000 in relocation costs. And then when you move into your second year posting, if you decide, you can then claim again £2,000 to move again if you have to move, or if you can commute. If your next posting is within commutable distance, they will essentially pay for your commute. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but they'll sort of pay the difference between what your original commute was and what your new commute is. So that's quite nice. So I'm getting the train into London, which is only an hour from Andover. When I do go into the office, I don't have to pay for it. So that's obviously nice considering how expensive trains are at the moment.
So then after this 6 months, what then? What happens next?
So my next posting is another 6 months. The second year of the project delivery scheme is split up into 2 6 months, and I'll be doing a secondment. So I'll be going to an external organisation. It could be public sector, so it could be like, for example, people have gone to the Metropolitan Police, various NHS trusts, local councils. It could be in the private sector. We work quite closely with a consultancy firm. So it's really varied what you can do in your second year, which is why I really like the PD scheme, because you get such a breadth of experience as well. So you can figure out what you like and what you don't like as well, which is also really important. And that'll be another 6 months from April till October next year.
Okay. And then after that, is that towards the end of it then?
So October next year, I'll be starting my third year. Yeah, I'll be in my third year then, which seems really scary. It's flying by. And then that goes back to yearly placements, so that'll be another year. And then, to be honest, the project delivery scheme is 4 years, but a lot of people do leave early and don't complete the 4 years, because you can apply for like what's called early exit, I think it's called. They keep changing the name, but essentially to get that promotion to a senior management role in the civil service, it's called grade 7, so it's the next grade up from what I am. You can apply to have your end of scheme assessment early. So you essentially do it as like a long interview at the end of the scheme to see if you're ready for that promotion. After the third year, I believe, you can apply to do it early. So you don't necessarily have to do the full 4 years. Some people do, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people get that early exit after the third year or during the third year.
Okay, and are all the schemes for? No, I mean obviously if you don't finish early, are they all kind of 4 years?
It varies, and it's they're doing a big relaunch for 2024, so it's changing a lot. But all the details, like the up-to-date details, are on the website. I don't want to give false information. So some of them are 3 years, some of them are 3.5 years, and some of them are still 4 years. But there's 15 different schemes. I can't recall them all.
There's so many. What made you choose this stream?
So I didn't actually choose it, which is funny. So when you apply, which is really good, you get a choice of 4, and you can order them in your preference. So my first choice was actually the diplomatic scheme, which is essentially like training to become a diplomat or an ambassador and work in the Foreign Office, which is what I really wanted to do. But that's, as you can probably expect, that's insanely competitive and hard to get onto because so many people want to do it because it's so cool and interesting because you get to travel a lot, you get a diplomatic passport, get to work at embassies abroad. But I didn't get on that one, and there's very limited spaces. But my second choice is project delivery, so I'm really glad I got on my second choice. And then you also get a third and a fourth choice as well. So that's what's good about the application process. Like, don't be disheartened if you don't get your first choice because you might get your second, third, or fourth choice. So there's plenty of opportunities there. I was just going to say that a lot of companies now are moving away from you studied this, so you have to do this job. So I had a lot of questions about this yesterday at a careers fair. Was like, oh, I'm doing a marketing degree or I'm doing criminology. What can I do in the civil service? We're sort of moving away from the model of like you have to have a first or a 2-1. If a lot of schemes there were 2-1 or 2-2 in anything, so literally could be anything, as long as it's an undergraduate degree that's recognised, like you'll be eligible to apply. Because kind of the point of the fast stream is not to specialise you; it's a leadership development program. So they're wanting to build the future leaders of the civil service in whatever that may be. So it's more sort of about building your character and your leadership skills rather than pigeonholing you too early in your career. So that's what's really good about it as well. I like that.
Excellent. Okay, so actually, let's talk about the recruitment process then. So, what steps did you have to go through in that recruitment process?
Yeah, I applied in my final year of uni. It's a long process, about 6 months long. So the applications are open now. They close on the 9th of November. It's anonymized. It's an anonymized application process. So you don't do a cover letter. You don't upload a CV. You don't actually speak to another person until the assessment's in the stage. So you just go on the website and you upload your details, right to work in the UK, all that sort of stuff. And then the first stage is like online tests. So it's like a situational judgment test, which everyone hates, but you can practice them online. There are free tests online, which is what I did a lot. And it will give you like a scenario, and there'll be like 4 options of what to choose. And there's always one really silly one. But yeah, there'll be options to choose how you would react in this situation. Once you go through that, you go through to the second stage, which is the psychometric tests, I believe. Depending on what scheme you apply for, it's different. But on project delivery, I had to do like a maths-based one, I think. It's a while ago now. And they're not timed as well, so you can take as long as you want to complete the tests. And my advice would be to definitely like practice them online, where you can find like free websites, because it's simply just a way of whittling down the numbers. It's not to test whether your ability at the job or not. FastStream gets, I think, about 10,000 applications every year for about 900 roles, so they just need a way to whittle down the numbers. But yeah, so you do the psychometric tests. After that, you'll go to the assessment center stage, which used to be in person. It's now fully virtual. The first time you'll actually speak to someone else. It's like a half-day virtual assessment center with 3 activities. The leadership exercise, which is like assessing your qualities as like a leader. It's like a sort of an interview. Then there's a team exercise, and then there's a written exercise. And the written exercise, at least when I did it, it might have changed now. When I did it, it was like a mock written scenario, like a submission that we do to like ministers. So it was a 6-page document about mine was like public transport in Barcelona, and could we like basically implement it in London, I think. And you had to like analyze the document. You had like 20 minutes or whatever, and then you had to write a mock submission of like pros and cons. Here's how it could work. Here's drawbacks. Could we fund it? Who would it impact? Etc. Etc. And then make a recommendation to the minister. And that was the written exercise. After that, some schemes, if you progress the assessment center, some schemes have a final selection board, which sounds really scary, but it's honestly not. Mine was basically just a 20-minute chit chat with 2 assessors about sort of public sector projects, and did I know any examples of any? So I'd recommend like reading up about like public sector projects, what the government's doing, what bills they're trying to pass, if you get to that stage. And then that was it, really. I was really nervous for my assessment center and my final selection board, and they were honestly not that bad at all. I actually spilled coffee on myself during my assessment center, and I still went through it. So yeah, that wasn't fun. But I actually got my offer like 2 or 2.5 hours after my final selection board. So I thought it was a mistake at first. But yeah, so I got very lucky to get in first time. But what I would say is a couple of points. If you don't get in, the application's open every year. So as long as you've got an undergraduate degree, you can still apply. And you only need a 2-2 for some schemes. Some schemes are a 2-1. They're changing it at the moment, I think. The second thing is that if you get to the assessment centre but you don't quite make it, what they do is they keep your details for up to 2 years, I think, and they may just offer you a job anyway, what's called a direct appointment. So this is like equivalent grade with a fast streamer, but not on the fast stream. So you'll be a permanent employee of that department. And I know a few people who have gotten through direct appointment. And the good thing about that is sometimes the direct appointment jobs, because you're a permanent employee, you're paid by the department and not the fast stream. So you could actually be paid more than a fast streamer. And third point, lastly, they grade you on what's called civil service behaviours at the assessment centre, which are on Google. You can just Google it. It's called civil service behaviours. They grade you at HEO level, which is what you would come in at as a graduate. And basically, as long as you can learn the behaviours and then give examples of where you've demonstrated the behaviours, the STAR format, so like situation, task, action, result, you'll do very well. So if you can read the behaviours, think of examples either at uni, work, or a sports team, or whatever. It can be from anywhere where you've shown the behaviours. And then like some behaviours, I'll just give like a quick example. Leadership is always one. Seeing the bigger picture, delivering at pace, communicating and influencing. And they're all things like that. If you can demonstrate those behaviours, you'll do really, really well at the assessment centre. So that's probably the best advice I can give.
Brilliant. They're brilliant insiders tips. Thank you for those. Really, really useful. And I think, like you mentioned about looking up those behaviours is so important. Any graduate scheme, they typically assess you against a certain standard of competencies or behaviours. So understanding them is really, really key, and providing that evidence, like you mentioned. And using the STAR technique. If anyone missed that, the STAR technique is a way of structuring your interview answers. So yeah, brilliant tips there. Thank you.
What's good about the civil service is that we tell you like what you're being graded on. So it's like very transparent, like it's published online. I think a lot of private sector companies, you go to like an interview or assessment center, you've got no idea what they're looking for. But like we literally say, we want these behaviors. So it's very transparent, which is nice. I think that sets it apart from some other schemes.
And what did you do? You mentioned about using, evidence to explain how you meet those behaviours. So, what experience did you draw upon? What have you done, maybe through university or outside of university, that you could have drawn upon?
Yeah, so I think there were two big things that I like literally banged on about at my assessment center and in my interview, like nonstop, which were I did study abroad. I got to live in Germany for almost 2 years, way longer than I expected to because of COVID. And then my placement at HPE, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, that really helped because I think doing study abroad really set me apart from maybe some of the other applicants, and especially because I lived abroad during the pandemic, like obviously a very tough time. It like showed my like resilient skills, like making quick decisions under pressure, that sort of thing. And then my placement, which I did while I was abroad, 2020 to 2021, really helped as well because you obviously have to get onto your placement there. Like they're quite a reputable company, demonstrates like a certain level of like skills and knowledge, and then working abroad, which was in a very tough year, a very demanding job, that definitely helped. I definitely recommend anyone to do study abroad because it 100% sets you apart. And if you can learn a foreign language as well, even just a little bit, that also sets you apart as well.
Okay, brilliant tips. And actually, yeah, we've got the, if anyone is interested in studying abroad, we offer semesters to study abroad at BU, and it's now the Turing Fund that helps the funding for that. So we have a global team, a quick plug of them. So yeah, brilliant. I think they will be pleased that you had a great experience as well for that.
Yeah, I studied that in Heidelberg in Germany. So definitely recommend it to anyone. It's absolutely beautiful.
Amazing. Okay, so you obviously made the most of your time at university by taking on something like study abroad, and your placement. Really, really key.
Yeah, definitely. Like doing study abroad is the big one. That's the one that helped the most, and that changed me quite a lot. I think I was a different person when I came back from Germany because I was there for so long. I don't want to go on too long, but I'll just explain really quickly what happened. So I went there in February 2020. Obviously, in March 2020, went into lockdown. So I ended up staying there for way longer than I expected. I was enjoying it so much as well. and the weather was so good and it was so cheap to live out there. So my placement started while I was abroad. They actually sent me a laptop to Germany, and I did my whole year out in Germany. Then I got vaccinated out there, and then I was able to come back to the UK. So yeah, it was definitely a crazy year, and I also met my girlfriend out there as well. So yeah,
It was a good all round
it was a good
experience.
year. Yeah, I sort of had a wild year where it wasn't the best of times for everyone, but I was having an interesting year.
Excellent. And I guess, yeah, being adapting to that different environment and all the issues that were going on at the time with the pandemic really develops a lot of skills as well, doesn't it? Um, Brilliant. Okay, so what's next for you? I mean, obviously we've talked about, you'll be going. You've got quite a few more placements to do, but do you have a goal at the end of it? Is there a particular department you'd like to end up in? What would you like to be doing in the civil service?
To be honest, I'm not one of those people that has like a 5 or 10 year plan. I'm definitely not going to finish the fast stream and then see what my options are. So, like I mentioned earlier, I'd love to work in like a foreign office role. So anything to do with sort of international relations, which is very relevant at the moment, given what's going on in the world. That would really interest me. I'd love to work abroad again. That's sort of what led me to apply to on the diplomatic scheme, because I wanted to use my time abroad. I thought that would be useful. Ended up didn't get on that scheme, but got on project delivery. So that's something that interests me. I mentioned earlier about the SPADs that are like the political advisors. So this is like something that I didn't actually realise. What SPADs do, who are the political advisors, I thought that's what civil servants do. So I actually went into it thinking I'd be more of a SPAD. So those jobs are very hard to get because you basically have to know a minister or an MP and work in their private office. But I'd love to do that one day as well. And I think, given now I've got my foot in the door basically via the project delivery scheme, you don't have to do project delivery for the rest of your life if you get in through the project delivery scheme. You got your foot in the door, like in 2 years' time or year and a half's time, I'm going to have like so much experience on my CV and a secondment and all these experiences and training. I didn't even mention the training as well. So they pay for you to do a project management course once a year. You could do like MSP or Prince, or I did MSP this year. So I'm going to have all that on my CV. I don't want to say you can walk into a job, because you can't walk into any job, but you're going to be like a very attractive candidate to any employer. So yeah, that's why I'm so grateful that I got on the scheme and so lucky.
Well done, because the numbers that you said at the beginning of how many apply and how many get on, you obviously have done really, really well to get your place on that scheme. So congratulations. I'm glad it's going well for you. And I think it does show that, I think it's good to show our Bournemouth University students and grads that, they can do it, and it is worth applying, isn't it? And giving it a shot.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, BU gave me a lot, so I wanted to give something back, because yeah, without them, I wouldn't have been able to live abroad. I wouldn't have got my degree, obviously. So they changed my life basically going to university without a doubt. So something else I would quickly just mention, I've just remembered. So when you're applying, there's certain boxes you can tick at the application stage. So if you're from an ethnic minority background, a low socioeconomic background, which I am, if you're neurodiverse, if you've got a disability, they are very, very keen to have more people from these backgrounds apply, to make it, broaden it out for everyone. So please do apply, because they're very keen to hear from that. And if you've got, like, for example, I'm neurodiverse as well, and I said at my interview, like, this is how it helps me analyze information. This is how it helps me, think of pros and cons, think of impacts, whatever it may be. That really helped as well, because traditionally the civil service is seen as a bit of a stuffy thing. You either only get into the civil service, you went to Oxford or Cambridge, but it's really not like that anymore. You still do get those people sometimes, and that's absolutely fine as well. But they're really keen to sort of broaden out to more universities and more backgrounds as well.
That's really good to know. And I think it was good to know about how you were able to talk about, you said you're a neurodiverse, and you were able to talk about that in your interview and draw the strengths from that as well. So they are accepting of, they want to have different people to represent the community as well, don't they? Talking about that, I think they offer internships, don't they? Specific, if you meet specific eligibility. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, so I think this is something that's now changing. So go to the website for the latest details. But I was speaking about this at a careers fair I was at yesterday. They do offer the summer internship program, which is like 6 to 8 weeks, and they pay you about £400 a week as well. And it would be tax free, obviously, which is quite nice. And it's essentially just shadowing with a little bit of work thrown in as well. You go into a department, you'll have like a mentor. It's more to sort of make the connections and stuff. And that was when I applied, it might have changed now. So like I said, check the website. But when I applied, if you were from one of those backgrounds, you went straight to the interview and you didn't have to do all the assessment stages and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that was called the Summer Diversity Internship Program, I believe. SDIP was the acronym. So definitely check that out. If you're in your second year and you're looking for a placement, definitely check that out as well.
Brilliant. I'll put the links to that in the notes for the podcast too. Well, thank you so much. It's been really interesting hearing about your experience, about the recruitment process, and also just hearing about, what you did at university to help you into the civil service. So thank you so much for your time today.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you for listening today. Please remember to subscribe and follow so you can keep up to date with all new episodes.